My husband, 35 years old, and I, 27 years old, are married, and we have a 5-year-old girl. I am currently in my first trimester of pregnancy. About 6 months ago, my husband found out that he has a 13-year-old daughter from a previous relationship. He had no knowledge of her existence, as he was dating a toxic girl who lied about using birth control to trap him. When he expressed that he didn't want anything to do with her, she claimed she would get an baby living. Currently, my husband has met his daughter, and she has also met his family, including me and our daughter. The girl does not live with her mother, but with her maternal grandparents. The other day, she brought up the idea of my husband having custody so she could live with us. Initially, I didn't say anything, but when we were alone, I expressed to my husband that I'm not okay with that. We have our own plans, and adding a 13-year-old teenager would complicate things. At first, he didn't understand my perspective, but eventually agreed. However, my mother-in-law said it isn't appropriate for his daughter to live with her grandparents when she has her father. She told me that I need to accept his daughter, but I explained that I married a man with no children, not a man with a child. We need time to get to know her and her family better before allowing her to live with us full-time. Her upbringing has been mostly by other people, and her mother wasn't good. I suggested that we revisit this conversation in a year once we have settled with our new baby and developed a better understanding of her and her family. My mother-in-law still thinks poorly of me, but my husband continues to support my perspective, which has caused tension between her and us. She has spread rumors among our family, claiming that I have forbidden my husband from having contact with his daughter. I confronted her, calling her a busybody, which only made the situation worse. Now, my husband has also had a fight with his mother and other family members. I can't help but feel that I have caused unnecessary drama, and perhaps ignoring my mother-in-law would have been the better approach. To clarify, I am not refusing to spend time with her. I am simply refusing to let her move in with us right now. I believe we should spend time together as a family and get to know each other better before rushing into that arrangement. Edit. When I mention not rushing things, I mean taking part in activities together, starting with one-night sleepovers, then weekends, then a week, and even going on holidays, possibly during summer break. We're uncertain if we will plan a trip or something similar, but we would gradually transition to her moving in, rather than abruptly. Additionally, we have already conducted a paternity test. The girl is safe with her grandparents, as they and she have no contact with her mother. The frequency and duration of our visits with her depend on her school schedule and extracurricular activities. Generally, we can see her mostly every weekend, and occasionally on weekdays if possible, and if she wants to. Sometimes, she may have plans with her friends on certain weekends. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. No need to name call, it hurts your message, which, by the way, I agree with. Your husband did nothing wrong. He had no idea he had a child. Of course, you're not going to bring any unknown factor into your home with small children, much less an older child you really don't know. I do agree that you should get to know her. Husband should begin parenting her in small doses. See how she interacts and is safe with your children. Tell mother-in-law that her drama is hurting her granddaughter. You will not dream of making an uninformed choice regarding your children's safety until things become clearer. Comment 2. We have our own plans, and suddenly adding a 13-year-old teenager is going to complicate things. Your plans do not override the care of a child who has been neglected, intentionally or unintentionally, by both parents. Your husband has a legal and ethical obligation to be a parent to this kid. But I said that I didn't marry a man with a child. I married a man with no children. You did marry a man with a child, even if you didn't know it at the time. If you cannot handle that change in your husband's situation without encouraging neglect of a child, then you shouldn't be with him. You are the jerk. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. It's been a tense few months, and I've got a lot to share. So remember how I was hesitant about my husband's daughter moving in with us? Well, things took a turn. After that big blowout with my mother-in-law, my husband and I had a heart-to-heart He admitted that he felt torn between his newfound daughter and our family plans. We both knew we had to find a middle ground. We decided to start with those one-night sleepovers I mentioned before. The first one was, let's just say, interesting. Our daughter was thrilled to have her big sister over, but there were some hiccups, like when she borrowed my makeup without asking, and it ended up all over the bathroom. But we survived. Then came the surprise visit from my mother-in-law. She showed up unannounced during one of the sleepovers, and boy, was that a scene. She accused me of not being welcoming enough and said I was sabotaging the relationship between my husband and his daughter. My husband stepped in, and they had a shouting match right there in the living room. Our 5-year-old was scared, and his daughter just looked so lost. It was a mess. After that, my husband and I realized we needed to set some serious boundaries with his mom. He had a long talk with her, explaining that while we valued her input, this was our decision to make as a family. It was rough, but it seemed to calm things down a bit. Meanwhile, his daughter started opening up more. She shared stories about her life with her grandparents, her hobbies, and how she felt about her mom. It was clear she had been through a lot, and my heart went out to her. We kept up with the sleepovers, and they gradually turned into weekend stays. It was during one of these weekends that we had a breakthrough. She had a school project due, and we all pitched in to help. It was the first time it really felt like we were a family. My husband was beaming, and even I had to admit it felt right. But just when we thought we were getting the hang of it, another curveball came our way. His daughter's grandparents sat us down for a serious talk. They were getting older and starting to find it hard to keep up with a teenager's needs. They asked if we could take her on for longer periods, maybe even full-time. My husband looked at me, and I knew what he was thinking. We had just started to bond with her, and the thought of turning her away was painful. But with the new baby on the way, I was worried about how we'd manage. That's when we came up with a compromise. We'd take her for a full week every month, and the rest of the time she'd stay with her grandparents. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start, and to our surprise, everyone agreed. Even my mother-in-law, who seemed to have softened a bit after seeing us all work together on that school project. The first full week was intense. There were arguments over chores, disagreements about bedtime, and an incident with a broken vase that nobody wanted to fess up to. But there were also movie nights, baking sessions, and lots of laughter. It was exhausting and wonderful all at once. As for the rumors my mother-in-law had spread, they started to die down once family members saw us all trying to make it work. Some even apologized for jumping to conclusions. It felt like a weight had been lifted. Now, we're gearing up for our first holiday together. We haven't decided where to go yet, but the planning is half the fun. His daughter is excited, and so are we. It's not the family dynamic we had planned for, but it's ours, and it's growing stronger every day. Family wants me to change my baby's name to blend in with them, but I refuse. Now they're divided over it. My husband and I, both 25 years old, are expecting a baby together. I'm having some trouble with my family over the name. Background: I don't share the same mom as my siblings. My parents had me, and my mom chose my name. It's not your typical name. It's a nature name, which she also had, and isn't one of the common types like Lily or Rose, for example. According to Dad, my parents bickered over my name, and my mom ended up choosing my first name, while Dad chose my middle name. My parents' marriage wasn't great, and by the time my mom died when I was 5, Dad had met my stepmom, Jane. For a while after my dad and Jane moved in together, they asked me if I would like to use my middle name, Claire, instead of my first name, Acacia. I didn't want to use my middle name, and Dad was a little upset, but they let it drop. My dad and Jane were more compatible with their naming preferences, and my siblings' names are more expected. Elizabeth, James, Hannah, Michael, etc. My name did get comments, and I would proudly tell people my mom named me. It wasn't easy for Jane to hear, and my family didn't love it. I love my family, but I was always proud of being named by my mom and never cared that I stood out. I never wanted to be more like them or blend in with them better. It was a connection to my mom that made me proud. When I was younger, I used to talk about carrying on with nature-themed and more uncommon names when I had kids. Based on that, my family questioned when we told them I'm pregnant if we plan to do just that. We do, but we did not tell them that. We told them we would be discussing names and would announce after our baby was born. My family made suggestions. Jane made suggestions that she thought were darling and would blend in so beautifully with the family. I told them we didn't need the names and asked them to please stop suggesting them. Talk of the baby shower and planning on that has brought this more to the focus for my family. They told me they feel we should take their thoughts on board, and my dad said I should consider not letting my baby's name stand out among theirs the way mine did. My siblings wanted me to consider Jane and how she would feel if I copy my mom's style and stay far away from hers when she has been raising me for years and hearing me bask in the joy of people knowing my mom named me. I reached the end of my rope and told them all that they don't get a say on my baby's name and that I don't want my child's name to blend in with theirs, that it doesn't matter the way they seem to think and the way they make it sound. It's like telling me I have to choose between them and my mom, or more accurately, Jane and my mom. They told me I was callously dismissing their feelings and what this means to them, and what message I'm sending to others. They said I started it years ago by making it clear I wanted to name my kids like mom named me. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I think the thing that bothers me is that instead of choosing names for the other kids that fit well with their current child, they chose very different names and then made a big deal about how you were different, even going as far as trying to get you to change your name so you'd fit in better. Now they're making sure the baby doesn't match you either. Well, you don't want the little one to feel left out and weird like you, do you? But whose fault was that, anyway? A child who is different should be celebrated or seen as a happy coincidence and not something they're, embarrassed about. Not the idiot. These people are terrible. Comment 2. Not the idiot. My family made suggestions. Jane made suggestions that she thought were darling and would fit in so nicely with the family. Well, Jane, my partner and I are starting our own family, and the name we're going to choose will fit perfectly. Thank you for your suggestion, but please respect my decision in this matter. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, it's been 2 weeks since I last posted about the drama surrounding my baby's name and my family's feelings about it. I wish I could say things have gotten better, but buckle up because it's been a rough ride. After my last post, my husband and I decided to stick to our guns and keep our chosen name a secret until the baby was born. We thought it would give my family time to cool off, and maybe even come around to the idea. Boy, were we wrong. My sister Elizabeth, who's always been the peacemaker, tried to mediate a conversation between me and Jane. Jane had been like a second mom to me after my own passed away, and I guess I never realized how much my clinging to my mom's memory had affected her. During this talk, Jane broke down and confessed that she always felt like she was competing with a ghost. She said she tried to love me like her own, but my constant reminders of my mom made her feel inadequate. I was flawed. I never meant to hurt Jane, but I could see the pain in her eyes. It was a heartbreak I hadn't anticipated, realizing that my cherished connection to my mom had inadvertently caused Jane years of silent suffering. The conversation took a turn when Jane admitted that she had hoped my baby's name would be a chance for us to bond over something that was ours. But when I pushed back on her name suggestions, she felt rejected all over again. Things got even more heated when my dad chimed in. He said he regretted not standing up for Jane more over the years, and that he should have encouraged me to embrace her as my mom. That stung. I had always thought my dad understood my need to hold on to my mom's memory. My brother Michael, who's always been the blunt one, didn't help matters when he accused me of being selfish and not considering Jane's feelings. He said I was so focused on my past that I was ruining my future with the family. Amidst all this, my husband felt caught in the middle. He's always supported my connection to my mom, but he also saw how much this was tearing the family apart. We had long nights of discussion, wondering if we were making the right choice. Then, the news dropped. During a family dinner, which was supposed to be a truce meal, my stepmom blurted out the name we had chosen for our baby. Turns out, Elizabeth had found our list of potential names and shared it with Jane, thinking it would help her feel included. The name we loved, Willow, was now the center of a full-blown family argument at the dinner table. Jane was hurt that the name was yet another nature name, and my dad said it was like I was trying to erase Jane's influence on my life. My siblings were divided. Some thought Willow was beautiful, while others agreed with Jane and my dad. The confrontation was intense. Voices were raised, tears were shed, and in the end, my husband and I left early, feeling more isolated from my family than ever. Since then, we've had minimal contact with my family. My husband and I are still reeling from the fallout. We're trying to focus on the joy of our upcoming arrival, but it's hard when there's such a cloud hanging over us. The heartbreak of seeing Jane so upset, the confrontation with my dad and siblings, and the betrayal by Elizabeth have left us feeling raw. We never imagined that choosing a name for our baby would lead to such a rift. We're still determined to name our daughter Willow, but the excitement has been dampened by the knowledge that it's caused so much pain. We're hoping that with time, my family will come to love the name as much as we do, and that they'll see it not as a rejection of Jane, but as an homage to my mom and the beautiful legacy she left behind. Sis asks me to babysit her twins last minute, and then accuses me of letting strangers around her kids. Boy, does she regret it when I tell her the real reason I had to babysit her kids. I, 26-year-old female, had this happen yesterday, and so far my family keeps saying I'm in the wrong. So, I was spending my first Saturday off in weeks, planning an outing with my friends. But at the last minute, my sister asked if I could babysit my twin 9-year-old nephews, since her mother-in-law was having a medical emergency and they had to go to the hospital. I agreed, because I know her mother-in-law has heart issues. She's already had a pacemaker put in. So I cancelled my plans, and my brother-in-law brought the kids over. Since some of my friends were already over, they helped me watch my nephews, and we did some family-friendly activities, like watch Scooby-Doo, order pizza, and play around with my child-safe face paints, along with some Mario games. It wasn't the weekend I planned, but it was fun, and my nephews and friends enjoyed themselves too. Thankfully, my friends have met the twins before, at events I've invited them to, so I didn't think it was an issue that I didn't chase them out of my home the moment the boys were dropped off. When my brother-in-law and sister came later that night to pick up the kids, they were surprised to see my friends there, and my brother-in-law asked if they just came back. I explained they didn't, and that we just made a day of taking care of the kids. They both gave me looks and took the kids home. Me and my friends pulled out the wine and some ice cream and decided to watch horror movies. Midway through, I got a text from my sister demanding to know why I let strangers around her children without letting her know. I told her she dropped the kids on me last minute, and she knows the 4 who had come over today, and that 2 of them live at least an hour away from us, so sending them back would have been rude. My brother-in-law also messaged me saying he felt uncomfortable that I allowed strange women to touch his children. They literally know my friends' husbands/wives. I don't get why they're making a big deal about it, but today I woke up to more messages of how I endangered the kids by having them around strangers, and worse, alcohol in the house. We got drunk and posted pictures around midnight, I guess. I don't remember much beyond the Insta post. Most of our relatives are saying I prioritized my friends over my nephew's safety, and I'm confused as frick. The only one on my side is weirdly my sister's mother-in-law, who turns out never was at the hospital. So I don't even know where my sister and brother-in-law were all day yesterday. I don't know, the twins were dropped off on me at the last second. My friends are known by the family. We never drank or did anything adult until after the kids went home. Did I seriously frick up here? I am so confused. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. My sister's mother-in-law, who turns out was never at the hospital, so I don't even know where my sister and brother-in-law were all day yesterday. This is weird and concerning. Some of the things that they might want to do secretly are irresponsible or unsavory. Or maybe they were invited somewhere and didn't want to pay a babysitter. The mother-in-law needs to tell others that she didn't go to the hospital and that no one knows where the sister and brother-in-law went. If it was a party, maybe someone will tell on them. Pay attention to little things that they say for a while, OP, and they may say something inadvertently that gives you a clue. Not the idiot. Comment 2. The only one on my side is weirdly my sister's mother-in-law, who turns out was never at the hospital, so I don't even know where my sister and brother-in-law were all day yesterday. Your sister's mother-in-law is on your side because she knows your sister lied to you about a medical emergency. I wouldn't be surprised if your brother-in-law is running an offense to distract from their lies. Now your family is focused on what you did when babysitting, not your sister's lies in leaving her kids with you in the first place. A simple solution would be for them to not ask you to babysit your nephews again, since, in their opinion, you did such a poor job. Not the idiot. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. I really appreciated the support and advice. It's been a rough couple of weeks since then, and boy do I have an update for you. So, after the whole babysitting fiasco, things got even more heated. My sister and brother-in-law kept bombarding me with messages about how irresponsible I was. They even started a group chat with the whole family to discuss the incident, which was just them trying to make me look bad. But here's where it gets juicy. Turns out, my sister's mother-in-law, who was supposedly having a medical emergency, was actually on a cruise. Yeah, you read that right. She posted pictures on Facebook of her sipping cocktails on the deck. When I confronted my sister about it, she tried to brush it off, saying they needed a day to themselves and thought I wouldn't agree to babysit if I knew the real reason. Talk about trust issues, right? But wait, it gets better. Remember how my brother-in-law was all weird about my friends being around? Well, one of my friends, let's call her Lisa, had been going through a rough patch with her husband. They were on the brink of divorce, and guess who she suspected her husband of having an affair with? My sister. I couldn't believe it when Lisa confided in me. It was like a soap opera. So, with all this drama, I decided to lay low for a while. I didn't go to any family gatherings and kept to myself. But then, my nephew's birthday was coming up, and I didn't want to miss it. I thought things had cooled down, so I went to the party. Big mistake. The moment I walked in, my brother-in-law pulled me aside and accused me of trying to sabotage his marriage by spreading rumors about my sister and Lisa's husband. I was floored. I hadn't told a soul about what Lisa suspected. It turns out Lisa had confronted them at the party, and they assumed I was the one who told her to do it. The confrontation was intense. My sister was crying, Lisa was yelling, and I was just standing there, trying to figure out how I got dragged into the middle of this mess. In the end, Lisa's husband admitted to the affair, and my sister was left trying to explain herself to everyone. Now, here's the misunderstanding that's got everyone talking. During the chaos, my nephews were opening their presents, and one of the gifts was a set of walkie-talkies. They were playing with them, and somehow one of the walkie-talkies ended up broadcasting the whole confrontation to the speakers set up for the party music, so everyone heard everything. My family thought I had planned it all to expose my sister and her affair, but I swear it was just a freak accident with the walkie-talkies. I tried to explain, but no one would listen. They all saw me as the villain who ruined the birthday party. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.